Houston teenager. Police say Melvin Josue Salvador and Celso Onelio Sandoval shot and killed a 16-year-old who was walking down the street. The two gang members allegedly committed a robbery after the killing. Investigators say more suspects could be on the run. The GOP is keeping Hispanic American votes under President Trump. A new AP poll shows 32% of Latinos voted for Republicans in November's midterms. Most of them veterans and evangelical voters. The survey says the vote stability is frustrating Democrats who believe Latinos should be against the GOP because of President Trump's stance on immigration.
Authorities in California slamming open border policies as they desperately search for an illegal immigrant accused of shooting and killing a police officer.
Illegal immigration doesn't serve our communities, especially criminals who victimize and exploit our communities. Whether you hate the president or love the president, border security goes hand in hand with national security. You can't provide sanctuary for criminals. All that does is silence the voices of our victims, and I certainly didn't sign up to do that.
So the question is this more proof that President Trump is right about border security? Here now to debate that is Republican strategist Ashley Hayek and attorney Richard Roth. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Ashley, I'm going to start with you. What do you think? It's a tough story to listen to about the shooting of that officer.
Well, first of all, my condolences go to the family of Officer Ron Singh. But now more than ever, we see that Americans are going to remember this officer who immigrated here legally to serve and protect Americans. They're not going to remember a shutdown. We've had 20 shutdowns since 1976. They're going to remember that man and his wife. And it's incredibly tragic. And now more than ever, this wall needs to happen. This is politicking at its finest. Tell Officer Singh's wife that her husband's life is not worth 0.1% for that wall. It is $5 billion. It is a small fraction, a small price to pay for the security of Americans. And the fact that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are gambling with Americans' lives is absolutely wrong.
You're taking a look at that picture on your screen right now of Officer Singh just a couple of hours before he was shot and killed. This is on Christmas with his wife and 5-month-old son. I mean, Richard, do you think this is really going to change anything?
I don't think it will. I do agree it is so tragic, and we do have an immigration problem. But let's not forget, Congress has approved a $1.6 billion expenditure to build a wall. They are starting to build a wall. They're building a wall in Texas. They're building a wall in Arizona. They're building a wall in California. The wall, it's not as if it's black or white. There is a wall being built. The issue is the size of the expenditure. And Congress does not believe that $5 billion is the appropriate amount. We, as lay people, don't get into the intricacies of how much is needed, but they've approved $1.6 billion, and there are other ways. If Donald Trump firmly believes that a wall must be built, there are other ways to get the money. He can get it from other departments. He can get it from other executive branch areas. So there are ways to do it. Congress is not going to allow for $5 billion. They are just not, and that becomes a problem. And if Trump just if it's an ego thing, he's going to come off it. He's just going to have to come off the $5 billion number. It's not whether there's a wall that's going to be built, it's the size that's going to be spent on the wall.
Ashley, we're talking about Officer Singh right now just because this is the latest situation, unfortunately, but there have been multiple people who have died at the hands of illegal immigrants who have entered this country.
There have been. And, you talk about how this is an ego issue for the president, but is this not an ego issue for Democrats who want to hand, house and home over to the illegal criminals who are coming into this country? ICE deported over 250,000 illegal immigrants. The amount of resources that goes to cover those folks. In California, they get free Medicare, free college education. Instead of using the funds for illegal immigrants, why not use some of that funding to secure our border? It's an easy solution. It's a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things, and it's absolutely ridiculous that Democrats continue to prioritize criminals over American citizens, plain and simple.
Well, then if it's that important to the Republicans and Donald Trump, then you can find other monies to do it. It's not.
understand why Chuck Schumer doesn't want to value American lives. Why do Democrats always want to put criminals' lives over the lives of American people? It's wrong. And Chuck Schumer supports.
Hold on, guys. Let's let Richard finish, and then Ashley, I'll let you respond. Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you, Ashley. It's not that they're putting criminal lives ahead of American people. This is a very tragic event. They are building a wall. The wall will be starting in February. It's going to be in 3 states: Texas, Arizona, and California. The question is the amount of the expenditure, not whether a wall should be built. That's not the issue before Congress. It's how much should be spent. And if you can say that the $5 billion number is what's needed, then I would agree with you. But if it's $5 billion because Donald Trump thinks he needs $5 billion, that's a different issue. And we've seen nothing to substantiate the fact that $5 billion is needed.
In fairness, though, we have heard some Democrats say that the wall will not be built. Ashley, the final word to you, just about 10 seconds.
Correct. That $1.6 billion they said would not go towards a wall at all, which is completely wrong. And I went down to the border. I talked to the Border Patrol. The wall is necessary, and it absolutely needs to be done.
Ashley, Richard, thank you both for joining us and for your perspective this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, Bernie Sanders, one of many rumored 2020 candidates for the Democrats. The major hint he just dropped.